The 2002 World Cup can be remembered as the tournament of the underdogs, with countries like Senegal knocking out defending champions France, or even the tournament of that iconic Brazilian offense in Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and Rivaldo. However, it is also remembered as one of the most controversial World Cups in recent memory. What's up guys, it's your boy, Raymar, back again for another video, and today, we're gonna look at the conspiracy of the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Before we start, I just want to announce that I've partnered up to bring you guys a special 7-day trial for ESPN+, a platform where you can go access and stream Serie A, Premier League, FA Cup, MLS, European qualifications, Copa America, and much more football content live in HD anytime and in any device. You can replay games and programs whenever you'd like, or even check out some other stuff like college sports, NHL, basketball, or rugby. You can cancel anytime you want before the 7 days are up, but if you decide that the content is awesome and you want to stream even more sports, then it's just $4.99 a month, which is an amazing deal. So if you're interested, go ahead and click the very first link on top of the description to sign up and download ESPN Plus free for 7 days. Each and every one of you guys trying it out, even if you decide to cancel, is really helping support this channel and allows me to continue making these videos. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's begin. If you ask people about the most memorable moments of the 2002 World Cup, a majority of them would probably say the 8 goals scored by Ronaldo or even Ronaldinho's iconic free kick goal against England. They'll also probably bring up the tournament's great controversies, the worst of which came down to the politics of FIFA and the sketchy referees and officials. The first red flag for the tournament would take place 6 years before it had even begun, when Japan and South Korea were selected as joint hosts in the summer of 1996. This was actually the first and up-to-date last time that two nations would share hosting duties for the World Cup, because back then neither country really had the infrastructure required to go and host alone. Also, the fact that Japan had never once qualified for the World Cup before bidding raised a lot of suspicious eyebrows, as did the obvious logistical issues for fans traveling across the seas internationally between venues, even if they're technically not too far apart. Meanwhile, the time difference meant that European fans would have to watch their matches in the morning, disturbing the workday for millions of viewers and businesses. As the very first World Cup to be set up in Asia, many accused FIFA of putting political and business interests over supporter convenience, which is actually a very similar situation to how many fans feel about Qatar hosting this upcoming World Cup, just because of some economic reasons, as the country themselves have never qualified for the World Cup, and it doesn't really seem like much of a football appreciating nation to the caliber that would usually host a World Cup. And of course, these complaints weren't about to stop FIFA from exploiting and penetrating new markets. I mean, if you think about it, tapping into the Asian markets can bring a ton of exposure to the sport, because like I said, Asia was a huge potential market that they had never really gotten into before. So let's get down to the matches. In the end, co-host Japan were knocked out by Turkey in the round of 16. Their Korean co-hosts, however, far outdid their neighbors across the sea, much to the overwhelming surprise of everyone. The group stages went a little too perfectly for the Koreans, who had convincingly secured wins over Portugal and Poland, as well as a 1-1 draw with the United States. There was a considerable amount of complaining from the Portuguese after players Beto and João Pinto were sent off, which is arguable. There may have been some bad calls during the game, but nothing too suspicious. Eyebrows started raising when the round of 16 clash with Italy happened, in, you guessed it, a Korean stadium in Daejeon, which they won 2-1 after striker An Jung-hwan headed a golden goal past Gianluigi Buffon 3 minutes before they would have went to penalties. But to be honest, Italy had been very underwhelming all tournament, despite having talents like Paolo Maldini, Fabio Cannavaro, Francesco Totti, Gianluigi Buffon, Nesta, Inzaghi, and Materazzi, to name a few. But the manner of their defeat left a very bitter taste in the mouths of fans and the establishment back in Europe. Italian supporters became increasingly angered by what they perceived to be a steady flow of uncalled fouls on the Azzurri. Ecuadorian referee Byron Moreno allowed the Koreans to continue their pressing game seemingly free of foul calls. This made it so that their tactics were essentially low risk, high reward. Many argued if not for the lack of calls, the Koreans wouldn't even have had the chance to score any goals in the first place. The Italians honestly fell victim to an unbelievable amount of refereeing errors. Francesco Totti was harshly sent off for diving. Damiano Tomasi had a goal wrongly disallowed for being offside, which would have probably probably made them win if it counted, and Kim Tae-young threw an elbow at Alessandro Del Piero without any consequence at all, even if the Italians were less than blameless in this physically intense match. Of course, back in Italy, many refused to recognize that South Korea had won the match. It was so bad that as a petty act of vengeance, Korean forward Ang Jun-hwan had his loan to Serie A team Perugia straight up cancelled, which is honestly really messed up. One headline in the Italian news by sports journalist and commentator Giorgio Tassati wrote, "Italy have been thrown out of a dirty World Cup where referees and linesmen are used as hitmen." Ever since then, conspiracy theories began to swirl around the referee, and Moreno, the head official for that Korean-Italy match, was later investigated by FIFA on an account of a number of controversies. Even prior to this World Cup, he already had a track list of having some sketchy officiating, which should have been a huge red flag. For example, he's already been suspended by the Ecuadorian Football Federation because in one game he reffed where the score was 2-3, he was only supposed to give 6 minutes of extra time, but instead played 13 more minutes, which was more than twice as long, which resulted in the other team scoring 2 extra goals in the last dying minutes. I can only imagine how the losing team must have felt after that. At the time, however, former FIFA president Sepp Blatter insisted that the mistakes had been down to human error instead of premeditated ones. Naturally, the popular opinion in Italy was that the match had been manipulated to keep the host nation in the tournament, and that FIFA's grand market ambitions in Asia had been prioritized over the integrity of a fair and honest officiating result. It got much worse when South Korea knocked out Spain on penalties in the quarterfinals. This time, Egyptian referee Gamal Al Gandour was at the heart of the controversy, having disallowed 2 perfectly good goals. And can you guess where this match was held? That's right, again in Korea, specifically the town of Gwangju. The Telegraph's Paul Hayward wrote, "The records say that the Koreans knocked out Spain in a penalty shootout on Gwangju on Saturday. But the records are a lie and this tournament has descended into farce." Hayward was also against the internal politics of referee selection, calling FIFA's decision to appoint officials from minor footballing nations anti-meritocratic, basically meaning that he believed FIFA referees should come from major footballing nations, which is pretty biased, but hey, the press were even less forgiving and, much like their Italian counterparts, immediately and ferociously complained about it on the media. South Korea was finally defeated in the semi-final, where nobody had even thought they would come close to reaching in the first place. Had South Korea beaten Germany in the semis, there may well have been riots all over West Europe. Instead, they were finally knocked out by a single goal from former captain Michael Ballack, bringing their unlikely World Cup run to an end. The host nation were treated like heroes in the Korean peninsula, with even the chairman of North Korea, yes you heard me right, North Korea's Football Association, Ri Kwang-gun, sending public congratulations to his nation's bitter enemies. But in both Italy and Spain, there were still public outbursts of anger over the perceived controversies of the World Cup, especially with the FIFA corruption scandal of 2015, where former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner was charged with corruption charges by the United States Department of Justice, which also coincidentally linked back to some officials in the 2002 World Cup, which happened 13 years prior, only further strengthening suspicions that the matches were indeed influenced by politics from football's world governing body. Shortly after former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner was charged, Byron Moreno, the referee in charge of the Italy-South Korea game, was also coincidentally released from a 2-year sentence for drug trafficking in New York. I mean, I know that's pretty unrelated, but still man, some of these referees are definitely sketchy. Bear in mind, these were only some of the circumstances in which people were actually caught. Who knows how many injustices have gone on since then, or even before that World Cup even happened. After all, it took 13 years for some of these allegations to even rise to the surface, leading to more rabbit holes of conspiracies from countless possible matches. So what do you guys think? Did FIFA really rig the matches to help South Korea reach further than anyone thought they would, just to prolong exposure to a more Asian audience and market, or was it simply just a human mistake in refereeing? I'm actually really curious to see your guys' take on the whole thing, so let me know what you think about this and other popular football conspiracies in the comments section below. As always, if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like, as it really helps support my channel and allows me to continue making these football videos for you guys. Also, if you're new and want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. Once again, thank you guys so much for all the love. Your support is amazing and I couldn't be doing this without you. So I hope you guys take it easy and I'll see you in the next one.